Hello, Scouts. My name is Ron, and I'd like to spend some time with you today taking a look at three knots. I'd like to just show you some shortcuts and or variations on three knots. The square knot, which is the universal scouting knot. The sheet bend, which is a knot that allows us to extend a rope or tie two different size ropes together. We have the bowline, which is known as the universal life-saving knot. It is critical that you know these three knots depending on the circumstances that you are in. If you will, I just happen to have a piece of paracord at the ready. Hopefully you have a piece of paracord as well. If you have a piece of paracord, then you can follow along with me. I will show you how I tie these three knots several different times. To tie the square knot, okay, take one end of your paracord and just make a loop and hold it with one finger, with one hand, I'm sorry. Now, it doesn't matter if the short end is on the inside of your hand or on the outside of your hand. That's immaterial. You make a loop, and the other end of your paracord is known as the working end. What I'd like you to do is you can either insert, and I do it, this is the way I do it, is I insert the working end up through the loop. So it looks like something like this. Okay? Now, what I will do is with my pointer, I will take the working end and bend it underneath the loop. Okay? And now what I do is I insert the working end back into the loop. I take these two ends and I pinch them with my right hand. I take these two ends, pinch them with my left hand, and I pull, and what I've made is a square knot. Now, you have learned many ways of tying a square knot. Why am I showing you a new way? That appears to be a little bit more confusing is because this is a basic knot of which I'm going to be able to tie other knots. One more time, just bear with me. I make, if you will, a loop. I take my working end and I insert it up through the bottom to the top. I take the working end and I bend it underneath the loop. I take the working end and I insert it back into the loop. With my right hand, I take the working end and this other loop, and I hold them, pinch them tight. My left hand pinches these two tight, and then all I do is pull. And what I have made is my square knot. Okay? Let me show you this one more time, only this time we'll do it with different colors. And hopefully this should show out very, very well for you. Doesn't matter if you make the longer one have the loop or the shorter one make the loop. It doesn't matter. All I'm doing this for is to show you colors. Again, I insert it from the bottom up. Could I insert it from the top down? Absolutely. Instead of wrapping it underneath, you would wrap it over. So I insert it from the bottom up. I take the working end, which is right here. Okay, this is my working end, and I'm going to pass it underneath the gold loop. And now what I'm going to do is insert it back into the gold loop. I'm going to grab the two white ends with my right hand. I'm going to keep the two gold ends in my left hand, and I'm going to pull, and if you will, there is my square knot. And if you see, you can see it from both ends. Okay? Simple enough? I think so. Once you've mastered that, we can now take a look and make the life-saving knot, the bowline. All right? Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a loop. Okay? Now, in this case, I want to take and use the two different colors so that you can see and follow along with me. The white is going to be the working end. The gold is going to be the loop. I insert my working end up through the loop. I bend it underneath the gold loop. With my finger, I pinch the white working end and the two sides of the loop together. So a thumb and my pointer, they hold those two together. What I want you to do now is to take your working end and I want you to push it up so that what you're going to form is a hump. You want to push it up so that you get a hump. Once you get the hump, you take the working end right here and you insert it through the hump. So it's going to look like this. This is going to go here underneath the hump, and you pull it through. Now, again, right hand takes the two white ends. The left hand holds the two gold hands. You pull, you release these two, you tighten, and what you have made is the bowline, a bowline knot. And a bowline knot does not come out. Let's do that again, okay? Want to make sure that you understand what it is that we're doing. Okay? Make a loop. Take your working end, insert it up through the loop. Bend the working end underneath the loop. Take the working end, make a second loop. Take the first end and insert it through the new loop that you just made. So the white working end is going through the white loop that you just made. With your right hand, you pull the two white ropes together, the two ends together. With your left hands, you pull your two gold strands, you pull those together and you tighten. I want to tie the bowline with just the gold paracord. Make the loop. There's my tail. See my tail. Here's my working end. Up through, underneath, insert, make another loop, insert the working end through that new loop, and pull. And once you have pulled and tightened it down, what you have is, if you take a look at it, you have a loop that will not come apart. So what we first did was we learned how to make a square knot. Based on that and one small variation, we were then able to make the bowline. Now I want to take two ropes that are different sizes and I want to put them together so that I can make a longer rope. The sad part is that they're not the same size. So how do we do something like that? Okay, so if you will, the gold rope is going to be my big, heavy, fat rope, and the white paracord will be a skinnier rope. Now, these two are, in fact, the same size. But imagine, if you will, please, this is the heavier rope. I make a loop. I insert from the bottom up the lighter rope, the smaller rope, the narrower rope. I turn it under the loop. I take the working end here, the smaller rope, and I make a loop, a new loop, and I insert underneath this new loop the working end. I get and I pull these two together with my right hand, and I take and pull these two together with my left hand, and what I get is what is called a sheet bend. And there is your sheet bend. And if you will, you can do whatever you choose to do with this. It will not come apart. Do you have to tie the small, thinner rope to the bigger rope? No. You can tie the bigger rope to the little rope. It doesn't matter, because once you cincture them, they will not come apart. Okay, let's do that one more time. Okay? I make a loop. I insert through the loop, going up. I twist, I take that working end underneath my loop. I push my working end up to make a new loop, and I take this white end and I pass it underneath this new white loop, and then I pull them tight, and I have my sheet bend. If you've been working with me, and if you've been paying attention, and if you have been trying the knots that we have just done, we've done 3 of them. We have done the square knot, we've done the bowline, and now we've done the sheet bend. But if you will, let's just take a look at something for 1 second. Here is your sheet bend. If you spin the knot around, you have a bowline. By understanding and practicing this one knot, you can now make the square knot, and you can now make the bowline and the sheet bend at the same time. So again, one more time. So if in your advancement you need to be able to tie a bowline or a sheet bend, just tie a bowline, and you've got the sheet bend on the reverse side. Tie a sheet bend, and you have a bowline on the reverse side. Very simple. Okay? And again, I do it with colors so that you can see it visually. My loop, my working end. I pass it up and through, and I bend it around. It's underneath. My thumb and my forefinger, my first finger, my pointer, are now holding all 3 of these pieces together. With my working end, I push up, and in pushing up, I'm making a new loop. I now take my working end and I stick it underneath. So in this case, my white end is going underneath my white loop. I pull this out. My right hand gets both white. My left hand gets both gold. And then what I do is I tighten the knot. In one case, I have a bowline. You see it? And in another case, I have a sheet bend. There's one last thing that I want to share with you on these 3 knots. Okay? We called it a life-saving knot. And you're wondering, why does he show me things along this nature where I already know how to tie a bowline, and I know how to tie a sheet bend? Why does he show me new ways to do that? Well, we as scouts and explorers and venturers, we are adventurous people. We are hiking, climbing, rappelling. We are swimming, boating, snorkeling. We are in dangerous situations, and sometimes we need to use the life-saving knot. So what I want to show you is a new way, or another way, or how to use what I've shown you in a life-saving technique. What I have here, just happen to have a little bit larger paracord. It's a little bit bigger than what we've been using. Okay, here's your working end, and if you will, if you take a look at it, you can see where this is the end of the rope. This is going to be the rope that is thrown from a boat or from a dock or from the shoreline to help save somebody. So we're going to go back to the working end. So you're treading water and you're tired, and all of a sudden you get this end, or maybe somewhere in here. First thing you do is you wrap it under your arms. And you're ready to go. What's the first thing we showed you to do? Make a loop. Make a loop. Take and insert from the bottom underneath. Make another loop. Insert your end underneath that loop. Now, if you want to draw this tight, you have to pick on this little loop right here. I hope you can see that. This is the loop. And what you want to do is you want to make this tighter around your chest. Once you have done that, you tighten down, and you now have your bowline in a life-saving position. Why you may not want to put it on your waist is because that you would have the possibility of being bent in the water, if you will, or being lowered down from a cliff, if you had to be lowered down from a cliff, or if you had to be pulled up. My waist does not necessarily split my body equally into two different equal segments. If I weigh 200 pounds, there's nothing saying that my top torso is 100 pounds and my bottom torso from my hips down is 100 pounds. By putting your bowline underneath the armpits, you're able to pull up most of the weight of the body. So you might be able to pull up 75% of the body. Okay? I hope you enjoyed today's video, and come back to it every now and then and practice it. The 3 knots, the square knot, the bowline, and the sheet bend. Again, the sheet bend ties 2 different size ropes together. Square knot is the universal scout knot that locks things in, and the bowline is the safety, life-saving knot. Take care of yourselves. Be safe in this COVID-19 time. Take care of your parents. Make sure everybody is safe and healthy. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Eat properly. Sleep properly. I'll see you down the road. Good scouting. Bye.